Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today I've got for you guys what I think are the two most underrated Kizer knives you can get right now. And not just that you can get right now, I really truly think they're two of the most underrated Kizer knives ever. For one big reason, somehow, some way, all the Kizers that have come across this table here, I have never ever had these two in hand until now. I've had them in for a few days. I've been able to put them through the review process, and they're a couple that I think are incredibly impressive. And I'm still, as I talk to you right now, I'm just surprised I've never come across these yet. But what we have here is the Kizer Gracioso as well as the Kizer Comet. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on these knives right here, but let's do it in order. Let's start with, well, there's really no order. We'll start with the Gracioso. We have a overall length of 8 inches with a blade length coming in at 3.25 inches and a blade width right around 880 thousandths. Blade thickness on this guy is 120 thousandths with an N690 blade, a drop point style blade with a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.75 inches, and a handle thickness at 500 thousandths. Handle width on this guy is 875 thousandths, and we have a very nice combination of kind of a brass bolster play. These aren't true bolsters, but kind of give you that faux bolster look with the linen micarta scales, which is some really nice linen micarta. There's very few companies that do linen micarta as good as Kizer, especially in this sub $100 range. We have a liner lock locking mechanism, a user of a right hand only, tip up carry. Weight coming in at 2.91 ounces, which is very reasonable for this big of a knife. Designed by Sharif Manganas. You guys have seen another one of his designs on my channel before. I think Sharif's an incredible designer. And a price coming in at 69 bucks. $69 for this. That's really good. Let's take a look at the Kizer Comet. Some overall specs on that. We got a considerably smaller knife here when you're putting the two side by side. A lot of length on the Gracioso. But we have here an overall length of 6.9 inches with a blade length coming in right around 3 inches and a blade thickness of 100 thousandths. We have 154 cm steel on this guy with a drop point style blade, a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 3.94 inches, and a handle thickness at 500 thousandths as well. We have a handle width of 780 thousandths with, again, that nice brass and linen micarta combo on there that works so well together. User of a right hand only as well, tip up carry with a nice milled clip. User of, I already went over that. We have a weight of 3.1 ounces, designed by Paul Munko. And I've got to be honest, I've never heard of Paul Munko until just now. So I'm sorry if I should have, but I got to say, for his first design on this table, it's a hit. It is a hit. And a price coming in at this one of $85 to $89. There's like 3 variants, and it depends. I believe there's a denim micarta version that's $89. This one here is $85. So again, a very competitive sub $100 price tag on these guys. Let's do some size comparisons. And first, we'll just compare them right next to each other. As you guys, well, you really already saw that, but we'll do it again anyway. And as you can see, the Gracioso is considerably bigger than the Comet. But now we're going to do some size comparisons with just the Comet. Let's pull out here a couple non-Kizer knives to give you a good idea here. We have the CJRB Rhea, as well as the Ritter RSK Mini. That might be the RSK2. I can't remember. But there you go. There's those two. And just to throw a Kizer on the table here to give you a good idea, because I'm sure if you are watching this video, you do like Kizer. Here's a Kizer Original, arguably the best button lock from Kizer this year. There's a couple other ones that give it a run for its money, strong run for its money. But there you go. There's your size comparisons for the Comet. And then we also have for the Gracioso, let's take a look. A couple really nice knives to compare with the Gracioso. I'm like literally juggling knives right now. We have the Civivi Imperium, which I think is an excellent comparison. Not quite the length, but similar ergos, as well as the Benchmade 940 right here, which is another good comparison in terms of length and just overall feel and hand. Relatively close to that. And then again, if you want to throw another Kizer in there, we've got the The good old Kizer Genie here, still one of my favorite Kizers, and one that really kind of put Kizer on the map for me personally. I got that Genie, and I was a fan. I was a fan. So there you go. There's your size comparisons. I felt like that took forever, and it really didn't take that long. It was just a lot of knives and a lot of on and off the table. And okay, we're done with that. Now let's get into these two and talk about just why I think they're so underrated. One, you don't really hear of them that much. I've seen some pictures of the Gracioso before, and we'll start with this one. And it was one that I really was attracted to. One thing after another came on the table, whether it was Kizer, Civivi, or any other, all sorts of different knives and lists and whatnot. It just never found its time to get on the channel, and that time is now. But let's talk about this blade here. A very gentlemanly, sleek blade, but it also kind of has somewhat of a powerful blade to it. I mean, it has a powerful feel to it with its length and just the lines and the recurve on it. And it's not a terrible recurve. Recurves, you know, I feel like for a while, recurves had too bad of a rap, especially for a recurve this. I mean, obviously, it's a noticeable recurve, but it's also somewhat of a minimal recurve. It's not super drastic. So, you know, you have like a Spyderco sharp maker or any type of rods, you can sharpen that pretty easily. It's really not that big of a deal, especially with N690. I've had really good success sharpening N690 in the past, and I am not the world's best sharpener, so that says a lot for N690. In terms of the actual blade, like the EDC use of this guy, I really like the tip up here. It's got some nice thickness up to the tip, but still comes down to a pretty nice point. Going to give you some pretty good EDC use out of that. And then this choil and this spine with the jimping right here, this is fantastic. It's a very sneaky choil. You don't really notice it quite at first, but when you get it in hand, this is absolutely fantastic in hand. I love this feel. Keeps your fingers close together, allows you to do good detail work, and just a nice, secure, close grip. I really, really like the ergos on this knife, especially in the choked up position. And the rest of the ergos are really good too. Even if you're not choking up, it still fits really well in the hand. There's no hot spots, no points. This pocket clip almost disappears in the hand. It doesn't disappear because it's kind of a satiny, it's kind of a bright satin, which I don't love, but I love how it feels in the hand. Just everything on it is smooth, and it really ramps down into the handle. And this area here, you just don't feel it. So huge fan of these ergos. And I really, really like this brass and linen micarta play here. It's just a great combination. It looks really good. And the back spacer gives it a really nice balance between the green and brass. Really like that they did that. They could have just put standoffs or something back there, and it would have, the weight would have been a little more towards the middle or up towards the blade. But adding that brass backspacer really does balance the weight out for me as well. So feels really good and balanced in hand, and just looks great. I mean, these lines, they work together. It definitely has those Italian vibes with the Gracioso. And you get into the action, and it's a very smooth flipping action. Now, it's just a flipper, so some people may not like that it's just a flipper, but I gotta say, it is so effortless. The detent is really good on it. It's not a blade you can really shake out, but it's also a smooth detent. You don't have that really strong click on deployment. I mean, you get a thwack, but in terms of breaking the detent, it's very smooth and it's not too hard to do. Your index finger is never going to do like one of those numbers. Obviously, I'm making it really easy just to kind of give you a play of what it would look like on some other knives that have stronger detents. Just a very nice, smooth flipping deployment that is very, very nice and works really well with this knife, especially with a bigger blade. You always got to dial that detent in enough to where it's not too strong and you can just kick it out just like that. So really, really big fan of the action, ergos, aesthetics, just about everything on this knife. I can't think of anything to pick apart on it, especially with a price tag at $69. Not only is it one of the more underrated Kizers, it is one of the better value Kizers out there. Just a phenomenal offering. And that is the Gracioso. And you get into the Comet here, which really, I mean, obviously they're two very different knives, but they both have that classy, sleek, kind of gentleman's look to it, just in different sizes with completely different design languages, which is really nice. It's a great 1-2 punch to have in a knife lineup. And this Comet really stood out to me. I gotta say, at first glance, looking at these two, I really liked what was going on with the Gracioso, but there were certain elements of this comment that spoke to me just a little more. And a lot of it does start with the blade. I just really love the lines on this blade. I love the swedge and the overall shape of the blade and how it goes with the handle. And it's just a very, again, it's a sleek, gentlemanly blade without kind of the powerful presence that you have with the Gracioso. So really big fan of how both of these knives just look like they go with the vibe of someone that is just, kind of just out for a day, a casual stroll, gentlemanly style vibes you want to bring. There's a lot of elements that guys like to tie into, whether it be their style or their EDC gear. I mean, everyone has kind of characteristics that they look for in their EDC gear, whether it be aesthetics or colors or whatever. Materials has a lot to do with it. So I just really like what this knife brings to the table. Really like the jimping on the spine here, and the overall blade itself is just really, really good. 21 thousandths behind the edge, gonna do just fine. The Gracioso came in at around 23 thousandths, so still pretty good. But one of the things that really stood out to me on the Comet was the flipper tab. And it's usually not something I highlight on a knife, but the flipper tab looks really good on this knife. A lot of times flipper tabs to me kind of look like they shouldn't be there. Like they don't tie into the knife. They don't tie into the rest of the design of the knife as well as I would like them to. But that's not the case with this one. I just really I think a lot of it has to do with the slight curves in the flipper tab combined with kind of the swept blade a little. And it's really, there's really not a swept blade. I don't know if it's hard to describe. I don't know if that's a clip point. I think it's just a drop point. But I just really like the way the lines of the blade work with the lines of the flipper tab. And I don't think I've ever said that on a knife before. So it's always nice to notice little subtle details like that really stand out. Another little subtle detail that stands out that I really like is the linen micarta on the pivot collar of this knife. I love that. It highlights the pivot without being bringing too much attention to it, and it works really well with the handle. I just think it was an excellent little touch of detail to put on this knife. The rest of the handle is very good. It's somewhat of a neutral handle. It's not, I wouldn't call it hand hugging or anything like that by any means. It's barely a 4-finger grip for me, but it is at the same time somewhat easily a 4-finger grip. I don't feel like my pinky's coming off, so that's really what I look for. If I can get my whole pinky towards the bottom of the handle, I'm good there. What really kind of bothers me is if I kind of get to this area, that I don't really like, but you don't have that issue with this. It is a full 4-finger grip for me, and I have somewhat wide hands, so feels really good in my hand. Love that jimping that kind of helps secure and grip everything. And the rest of the handle is just very solid, very good to go. This clip back here, even though it is a bigger clip than I usually prefer, I actually am a huge fan of this clip. Has really good retention, in and out of the pocket just fine. And I like where they put it on the handle too. It really feels great in hand. It's a milled clip, so you feel the top of it, but it's also nice and flat and wide enough to where it doesn't feel like any type of a hot spot or an aggressive point. So it does, while it doesn't disappear in the hand, it feels really good in the hand. And you get into the action on this guy. And the action is very different. The action and detent on the Comet is extremely different from the Gracioso. Really night and day different. Because on the Gracioso, it's nice, smooth, blade flips right out. And then with the detent on the Comet, it's much more, it's a stronger detent, and it gives you a much more of that clicky, snappy type of detent. A lot of people really like that. And I think a lot of people would love the action on this knife. Another knife that this kind of reminds me of is the Kizer, what is it now? It's been a while. It has been a while. People will probably be able to correct me without even hearing it from me in the comments. But it has really, really good flipping action, and it reminds me of that. I'm not going to be able to think of it now. I actually don't have it. I sold that one quite a while ago. But this is just, in terms of snappy, quick, just clicky, satisfying action, the Comet really hits on all points. And again, for just a flipper, I still really enjoy the action. I like fidgeting with it, and it's a great blade to use, especially if you're looking for that smaller, sleeker kind of gentleman carry. Very, very good option here. So two knives that took a long time to get on this table, but two knives that I have to say I would highly recommend. They're going to stick around here for a while because I'm a really, really big fan of both of them. I know a lot about Sharif Manganis, but I'm going to have to look into Paul Monco. I've never heard of him, so going to have to look and see who else he's designing for and what else he's got cooking, because this is an absolute winner, as well as the Gracioso. Keep an eye out. I believe there is a liner lock premium version of the Gracioso coming with S35 and carbon fiber and titanium, but it's still going to be a liner lock. It's not going to be a bolster lock. So I saw that on Blade HQ, so I believe that is in the works. But both of these knives, I would love to see some other iterations of, because I think they would both be pretty well sellers. And if I had to pick one of these two, if you had to twist my arm behind my back and say, no, you can't have two, pick one, it's tough. I'd probably go with the Comet, just because first look, it initially kind of jumped at me and grabbed me. But the Gracioso is fantastic as well. Like I said, very smooth action, very clicky, snappy, stronger detent type of action. Both very enjoyable, both very good. The Kizer Gracioso and the Kizer Comet. Guys, let me know what you think of both of these knives. Let me know if you own one or have handled one, and if there's one you prefer over the other. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I'm out.